Darts it in flat and short. And it allows Mala to just tap this off the back foot towards Jesse Singh long on for one.
You can see the plan here from Kenjige. He's trying to use a little bit of the moisture that's happening right now on the surface, a little bit of the dew, to try to get it to skid on from back of a length. So hopefully for Kenjige, he's trying to just get it to hang a little bit lower. And just as Nepal settles on to the back foot, gets one to sneak through, and he can also flight one up. And as all the weight's on the back foot, create a false shot.
Diving over the ball is Jahangir. USA's fielding just hasn't been good enough tonight or in the series as a whole. Another boundary for Kushal Bertel.
Again, this is just a sign of things not going USA's way. They just haven't found any way to keep momentum on their side straight throughout the series. Too wide from Kenjige. Yes, the arm ball coming back in, but still enough width on offer. Yeah, he can make a face at Jahangir, but not the delivery that Kenjige was looking for. Normally so accurate, hasn't been in a complete flow yet.
More flight this time, and still Bertel finds a gap, gets it past Monank, and extra cover, and it's got to be cleaned up by Jesse Singh for a very easy 2.
That'll be the 100 for Nepal. And again, we talked about Kenjige unable to be accurate. Another example of that, but how good have Nepal been in this run chase? Again, they've controlled every facet with the bat, even with the wicket falling early. They just seem to never let that affect the way they play. They've been aggressive, they've been smart with their options, their running between the wickets have been good. Kushal Bertel is now starting to put the impetus on himself to score the runs.
Well, the Nepal players are sitting in the dugout as Jahangir makes up for the miss on the previous diving attempt, saves at least 2 runs there. The Nepal players are sitting in the dugout, yet the Nepal fans, they're on their feet. They can't get enough of this. Looking down below us, section 103, section 105. They're on their feet. They're cheering every run. They love everything that this Nepal side has delivered over the course of these 3 matches in this Stake Stars and Summits series. And Nepal, again, looks on course to complete a sweep. Last ball from Kenjige, perfectly weighted by Mala. They're going to look for 2, and they're going to get it quite comfortably. Jesse Singh is not going to relay it back in time. So fantastic running continues between the wickets for Nepal. 11 runs in the over. 10 off the bat. It's 104 for 2 after 13.
Seven overs left, and Kushal Bertel, well, he's picking up from where he left off last night. Andrew Leonard sitting into the hot seat alongside Peter Della Penna for the last time in this series. Peter, I think it's fair to say that this inaugural Stake Stars and Summits trophy has been a huge success, but maybe not in the way in which USA would have wanted it to be on the field. Off the field, it's ticked every box you could imagine. But are we staring now at a potential 3-0 series clean sweep?
Well, we're staring at that. We're staring at a sea of red, white, and blue Nepal fans. Not red, white, and blue USA fans. It's red, white, and blue Nepal fans who are loving this, Lenny.
There's also, oh dear, a collision, and this could be nastier than we would have liked to have seen. I think it's Milan Kumar, Peter, is it, who he's just run into the side of Kenjige's shoulder. No communication, because that's in front of one of the most packed parts of the crowd, and Kumar looks in real trouble.
Well, again, in some ways, this sums up how USA has struggled this series. Communication out there on this occasion. Both guys full of effort to try and stop the second. Kenjige is coming from left to right. Milan Kumar from right to left. And basically, Kenjige winds up hip checking Milan Kumar right in the head and shoulder. It was Milan Kumar who bore the brunt of that. Kenjige heading over to collect, and Milan Kumar just collided, got his head and neck right into the hip of Kenjige. He's down on the ground right now.
Yeah, you'd have to think that with only 6.5 overs left after this, that Kumar is not going to be best place staying on. There's ODIs to follow, and that will be the concern right now. In theory, they could utilize a concussion replacement, but a lovely moment. A big ovation from the Nepal fans because Kumar has just sat up, and you talk about how sporting they have been and their passion for the game. A lot of the Nepal fans who are here are in their adopted home, people who've come over to study and live in the United States, and that for me, definitely one of the moments of the series.
Well, it looks like he's maybe just got the wind knocked out of him. I think it was just maybe being stunned by the collision because he's holding his ribs right now, and the contact was made with his head. If anything, you'd think he'd be grabbing at his head and his shoulder. Now he is grabbing at his shoulder. So again, it's Nash Kenjige coming from deep mid-wicket. He's going left to right. Milan Kumar is coming from long on, going from right to left. And it's his head that collides with Kenjige's hip. And that left shoulder that he was grabbing at just as he walked off the field. That's where the damage was done.
And Peter, for those who know their American cricket like you do, Nash Kenjige might not look imposing, and he's not necessarily a tall figure, but he's a very strong guy. He's a guy who prides himself on phenomenal gym work, and really, Milan Kumar has borne the brunt of that. We wish him well. He's gone off. Yasser Mohammed is his sub-fielder. He's down at long on. As Kushal Malla is going to take him on and hit it to his right. You sense that Kushal Malla, who battled so hard up in King City on the difficult tracks, was going to enjoy it when he came onto the flatter wickets here. Brought into the team to attack left arm spin, and that's what he's doing beautifully here.
Well, it's not just that, but he attacks anything full. Again, the scouting report on Kushal Malla is don't pitch it up. You cannot give it to him full because he'll murder it. Much better from Harmeet there. Back of the length, short is okay to Kushal Malla. If you pitch it up, it's going to go a long way.
Yeah, I've said before that Kushal Malla, he likes to eat left arm spin for breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's definitely his favourite diet of what he can be served up. He's a broad-shouldered young man. You talk about the gym work that he's done. He's put on serious muscle. Bertel just looks a different player, doesn't he, from 3-4 months ago. He's been really good. The equation now, 45 to win off 37, still very much in Nepal's favour. Down the leg side, a flick of the pad. And this is going to race away for a couple. Netravalkar will have to do the work. I think it'll be leg buys to round out Harmeet Singh's third over. Hasn't quite had the impact on the series that he would have liked, has he? The left arm spinner. It's 114 for 2. Peter, we're going to get a look at the run worms here. You can see the two sides aren't in altogether a different position right now. That phase from the end of the 15th to the 19th over in that first innings for USA, it absolutely killed them, didn't it? 28 runs from 4 overs when they had 2 set men and 7 wickets in hand.
7 runs in the 16th, 6 in the 17th, 6 again in the 18th, and 7 in the 19th. For USA in that stretch that you're referencing, Lenny, and just 1 boundary in that stretch as well. And that's coming back to bite them in a very big way.
Here comes Drysdale again. As Kushal Malla times that nicely through the offside. This will be his final over. Peter, I know you're a big man for social media. I've got to give you one here. from social. You're going to love this. Nepal has, I hope I've got this right, I think 9 of the 14 summits in the world that are 8,000 meters or more. And one of the most famous of them is Annapurna. And received a tweet from Pratik, who sent me a message right early this morning whilst it was still pitch black, about 5:30 a.m, because he's up at the Annapurna base camp. And he is now followed up with a photo. I'm going to retweet this here because it's absolutely stunning. He says, here you go. He's on Annapurna base camp, and in his hand, he's got the photo with the Kantapur Max TV HD footage. He's watching the Stake Stars and Summits trophy, rather fittingly, from the base camp of one of the most beautiful summits anywhere in the world, Annapurna. It's even better than Everest base camp. The trail up to it, you leave from Pokhara to get there. How good a photo is that?
Well, that sums up the passion of Nepal fans. If you thought what you're witnessing around the concourse here in Grand Prairie is passionate, well, that takes it to new heights, literally and figuratively, Lenny.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And certainly, I hope I've got the number right. It's either 8 or 9 of the 14 summits of 8,000 meters or more in the world. They're within Nepal. And it's known as the Himalayan nation. They've got the Nepal Premier League coming up, that festival of the Himalayas, as they've dubbed it. It's known for much more than that now, because their cricket team is really helping to tell the story of the beautiful nation of more than 30 million people and the big diaspora all around the world. And they're having not just a night, but a weekend to remember here in Texas. Help drain the corner. That'll be 4. Not the right line from Drysdale. And USA, well, they're being blown away here.
Well, Aman Patel compared some of the shots that Saimo Kamal was playing to Surya Kumar Yadav, and I know they're both right-handers, but there was a little bit of Sky in this shot, just getting inside the line and playing that flick pull shot. That Sky has made one of the cornerstones of his batting. You just get the mirror image of it with Kushal Malla. Just flicked it over the fine leg fielder for a very easy boundary.
The return of Kushal Malla to form is maybe the last tick in the checkbox of, if they close this chase out, would be a T20I series that Monty Desai could not be any happier with.
So close, yet so far for USA. Just the small moments in the first 2 games really let them down. They were in winning positions. And the death in particular is where USA faltered. So much attention on the super over and USA's collapse at the end of the chase. But as you mentioned, Lenny, almost a footnote in the match yesterday, the last ball 6 by Karen KC at the end of the first innings, and how consequential that was. 9 runs in the over. It's 123 for 2 after 15.
Well, a little shout out to the production crew who've done an amazing job here. They've managed to magic this photo from the tweet up onto screen, so I hope Pratik is okay with this. I want to thank him for sending this photo. That's the Kantapur Max TV HD coverage that he's watching on his smartphone. I don't know how he's got the 4G up there, and maybe if he can now send us a photo or a screenshot of himself on the global broadcast. That is the Annapurna base camp, one of the most beautiful mountains anywhere in the world, and certainly one of the jewels in the crown of Nepal.
And I know a lot of people watching back in Nepal on Kantipur TV, and the Nepal fans watching elsewhere in the world, are wondering, Lenny, when are you going to make an appearance at Annapurna base camp?
I've promised to do it at some point. Now, because all the time I go to Nepal, I've been there over 30 times now, I'm always working, I'm always busy commentating on cricket. But certainly that's got to be on the bucket list. And it's not about Everest base camp, it's all about Annapurna base camp. It is 8 of the 14 8,000 plus peaks they have, not 9. I gave them one too many, obviously most famously with Everest at the iconic 8848, but also not just one Annapurna, but 2 Annapurnas. As Mala goes through the offside very elegantly for 4 more. Are we seeing a return of a second Kushal back to his best after Bertel blitzed his way into form? Now it's his namesake Kushal Mala who's looking really good.
Well, USA is being taught quite a few lessons in the series, and one of those lessons that Kushal Mala is teaching them right now, if the selectors are watching from USA, is the importance of having a left-hander. They've left Stephen Taylor out. They don't have anybody in their top 7 batting left-handed. And Kushal Mala is showing something to the selectors for USA that maybe they need to rethink going into the ODIs.
There is an argument to be made. Nepal will be elated if they can get this chase done. They need just a fraction over a run of ball here. But there's an argument to be made that if Mala had played the first 2 games, this series might have been even worse for USA.
Well, I thought I was labeled as the pessimist, Lenny.
It doesn't feel like an awful lot's gone right. Saiteja Mukamala has been brilliant. Andre's House at points. As he goes down towards long off, but straight to the man. Nepal fans are cheering every run now. But this is a side who looked untouchable in the Netherlands. In reality, they should have won all 8 games on that tour. They managed to conspire to lose games to the Netherlands on their home soil, but they looked brilliant in Windhoek. I'm not quite sure where it's gone wrong for USA on home soil here.
Well, they've got question marks in terms of the balance. Again, Milan Kumar, who took a 5-wicket haul in Windhoek in his last match, he only bowls 1 over here in these 3 matches. You don't have the overs from Stephen Taylor because he's obviously not in the squad.
Short ball. Is it too short? No is the answer.
And in terms of the batting, that left-right balance just isn't there. Recently you had Corey Anderson, you had Stephen Taylor, you had, as you repeatedly said, Gajanan Singh. And the balance off the field as well hasn't been there, Lenny, because Phil Melky cuts an awfully lonely figure in the crowd amongst 1,500 Nepal fans. Phil Melky making the trip down from Cleveland, Ohio, USA super fan. He was in the Netherlands. We saw Phil and
family.
Phil and family came out to the matches that were out in the Netherlands that we were there for.
He's worked into the leg side, gonna be 4. And it's another misfield, not easy for Aaron Jones, but they just cannot get their positioning right on the larger side of the ground. And now it's just a run of ball that's needed.
Too short. Jesse Singh's pace tonight just sits up waiting to be whacked. Aaron Jones in vain.
Try and get 2 here, and because Mala and Bertel are both very quick, they'll get them comfortably. USA are being run off their feet. It's an 11 run over. The score moves to 134 for 2. Well, we've just loved every second of the atmosphere here. The colour and the passion that's been brought by the predominantly Nepal fans. Occasionally they get a little bit too enthusiastic. I think that fan was somewhere where he probably shouldn't have been, and the security just bringing him back to where he needed to be.
Well, I have to applaud our production crew, Lenny, that they were able to find Phil Melke in the crowd, because finding a person in the crowd with a USA jersey is like finding Where's Waldo. Got all these Nepal fans in red, white, and blue. Where can you find the USA jersey, red, white, and blue? Phil, where's Waldo, Phil Melke?
Well, a needle in a haystack amongst the passionate Nepal fans. And this could be interesting. I suspect, Peter, that Kushal Malla is not going to think about 23 off 23 with 23 singles. He's going to take on Harmeet Singh here. Whether he gets him or not, at some point in this over, expect a big shot. And there it is. Doesn't get it, but he will probably pick up a couple because he's mistimed it. If one goes up into his hitting arc, Peter, he could head up towards the floodlight pylons and the supermoon that's beyond it.
And one thing I'd like to do, while there's time remaining in this match, just go count the twos. Because Nepal have run circles around USA quite literally in this series. With the running between the wickets. The amount of twos they run, not just in this match, but throughout the series, far greater than USA.
And there it is, right on cue, and he does get enough of it. Kushal Malla loves left arm spin. And the meme yesterday was, we're so back. Both Kushals are now back. What a stroke, what a shot, what a player.
Well, you say he loves spin. He also loves it full, Lenny. That's right in his wheelhouse. And now it's headed towards the outhouse. Past the boundary rope. Another monstrous hit from Kushal Bertel. I'm looking here, Lenny. USA ran 9 twos in their innings.
Whilst you do that, Peter, just want to talk a little bit about the growing maturity from Kushal Malla. There was times previously where after that 6, wherever the length of the ball was, he'd have tried to go again. But this time, he's just added an element of real poise to his game. He checks it down, takes a single, gets Kushal Bertel back onto strike. Very impressive batting.
USA ran 9 twos. Nepal has run 12 twos, and that doesn't include 2 leg buys, which don't necessarily count off the bat. And we're still in just the 17th over. This chase isn't going to last to the 20th over. And again, it's a subtle thing, but it highlights the strength of Nepal's running between the wickets, USA's weakness in cutting off twos, and conversely, USA's lackluster running between the wickets, if you will, and Nepal's insatiable appetite in the outfield to cut off those twos and have such electric fielding to deny those runs. End of this over. 11 runs from it. It's 145 for 2 after 17.
Well, just when you think this tour of the United States couldn't get any better for Nepal, they found a return to form, not just for Kushal Bertel, but also for the incredibly talented Kushal Malla. I'm not sure there's a more talented cricketer that Nepal have produced with the bat than the left-hander. He's got X-factor unlike maybe anything I've seen in all my time covering the senior Nepal team. He's not perfect, he's not the finished article, but he's a fine young all-rounder, and he'd be in my starting 11 every day of the week. And it's great to see him back to his best. He battled up in Canada at strike rates that you'd be unaccustomed to see him playing at. Inside edge, they'll get a single, but he's back to striking up towards 150 which is what he's done his whole career.
So what I'm hearing you say, Lenny, is that Dave Agnew, the magnificent groundsman here in Grand Prairie, has he sabotaged the home side by preparing beautiful batting wickets that Nepal has taken advantage of to get their players back into form?
And they're certainly enjoying the better batting wickets. The strike rate's at 150. At one point earlier in his T20I career, Mala was striking up towards 170. Nobody's ever done that consistently in the world game, not even Glenn Maxwell. His career rate is 147 because of a dearth of runs in the last 4 or 5 months, but it's just great to see him back to his best. There's a sense of inevitability to this result. Peter, just need to go back to social media for one more second. I've got confirmation that the reason as to why Pratik was able to send us that photo is that up at the base camps, thanks to WorldLink, there's high-speed Wi-Fi at Annapurna base camp. So he's watching it in full HD and loving every second, and he can't believe his photo was just on the global feed. So big thanks and a shout out to him. Don't go send us in more photos, anyone else. We're not going to bring them all up. That was a one-off. But great to hear from you all watching in your hundreds of thousands, your millions around the world.
What a time to be alive, Lenny. 2024, ain't it grand?
Too
Here
right.
in Grand Prairie.
Too right. It's 10 to win off 16. And I think for Nepal to really put their stamp and their icing on the cake of what is going to be a glorious 3-0 series victory, they'd love one of these two to hit the winning runs and both of them to still be there.
Well, just 9 more needed. USA have a lot to think about. Ahmed Patel mentioned earlier when you asked him about the ODI squad, well, the selectors may be waiting to see what happens in those USA A matches. If anybody wants to push their case in those 2 games coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday against Scotland and Nepal. And based on what we've seen here in these T20Is, as they run a 13th to microcosm of this series, the running between the wickets for Nepal has just been head and shoulders above USA. And what looked like a once settled lineup for USA coming out of the Namibia tour maybe now has a little bit of pressure potentially being applied to it if anybody in that USA A series on Tuesday and Wednesday produces some quality performances. It may give the USA selectors food for thought as to what they want to do when they finally announce the squad that'll take on Scotland in the first ODI on Friday.
150s come up in the 18th over. It really is just a question of when now rather than if Nepal will complete this 3-0 clean sweep, and they have loved every single second of it. We are here for the clean sweep, says that sign, and they've turned out in great numbers again. USA have been a little under par, I think it's fair to say, but Nepal have been exceptionally good, haven't they, Peter?
As I said, head and shoulders above USA. On and off the field, I can see Phil Melke. He's moved all the way now to section 104. He's right in front of us, Lenny. He's standing at the back of the grandstand. He's got his hands in his pockets. He's certainly not clapping because there hasn't been much to clap about for USA tonight or in the previous 2 matches. Meanwhile, the contrast is the Nepal fans. They're on their feet. They want to give this team a rousing send-off. Most of them no longer in their seats. They're on their feet cheering every single run. They want to keep on cheering until this pair gets them across the finish line.
Well, Nepal are now within a blow. It's just 4 to win. They have roundly outplayed USA really in every facet, particularly in their fielding. 2 remain. It's 153 for 2. Peter, your takeaways from the series for Nepal, is this going to obviously boost their confidence going into the ODIs? Is there a reality that they might be able to win a couple of games against two of the table toppers in the early stages of that Cricket World Cup League too?
There's no reason to think they can't. On paper, you would say USA has maybe more talent, especially if you see what USA did at the T20 World Cup, beating Pakistan, running South Africa very tight. Now, Nepal ran South Africa very tight, but in a completely different way in the World Cup. But USA was mighty impressive, and yet part of the reason why Nepal couldn't get that first ever victory over Test Nation in the World Cup was their batting was so brittle, and that's what's been so impressive about this series. Their batting has been really stern in the face of this USA bowling. And they've been sturdy. They've been robust. Whether it's the running between the wickets, as they've now brought up a 14th run two in that last over, 13th and 14th run two to end that last over. And again, USA just 9. It's those little things, those subtle things that have made such a big difference in the series and have made a tremendous impact. USA can't cut off the twos in the field. Nepal is running them at will between the wickets. And then when USA is at the crease, they've struggled to turn ones into twos, as Nepal in the field has been relentless attacking the ball.
3 required to win. Don't rule out Kushal Malla finishing it in grand style here. It's dragged down, it's hammered away, but it will be 1 bounce to the fielder. And maybe it's fitting, given Kushal Bertel's performances over the last 48 hours, that it will be he who can hit the winning runs.
And on the flip side, if you're USA, Nash Kenjige is somebody who typically it's impossible to wipe the smile off his face. He's the happiest guy in the field, wherever he is for USA. Just look at the look on his face. That also sums up where USA is at in the series. He's got a very serious look.
Full toss, but it's straight to the man. So it's going to be Malla. Knowing Kushal Malla, Peter, he's not going to be tapping a single here.
Well, and USA, I think, knows that, Lenny, because even though scores are level, they've still got 5 guys on the boundary. They're not looking to stop the one. They're looking for the boundary catch. Play to Kushal Malla's ego. Now Kenjige's saying, oh, we want to bring Yasser Muhammad in, but they still got long off, long on, deep mid-wicket, and a deep backward square leg in place. When's the last time you saw scores level and 4 men on the boundary, Lenny?
Here we go. Scores are tied. And Malla will just punch it for a single. There's no need to do any more than that. And listen to the roar of the crowd. It's a historic, a famous, a landmark Himalayan clean sweep in Texas. It's the first time that Nepal have ever taken a whitewash in any T20I series. They've done it over a side that went to the Super 8 of the T20 World Cup here on home soil. They came in as underdogs, but they will leave as comfortable victors.